Hi, everybody. David Prager here, Director of Development for PragerU. We've had the opportunity to hear from a whole number of people who work within PragerU to understand how it operates. And usually we have Marissa Streit, our CEO, as the interviewer, but today we have the opportunity to have her as the interviewee. So welcome, Marissa.
I'm on the hot seat.
Exactly. I've had the opportunity to meet so many of you, and thankfully we have so many of you, so I don't know if it'll ever be possible to meet everybody, but having come across so many donors around the country, we've had a chance to hear a lot of the, let's call it the frequently asked questions for PragerU. So wanted to compile that list and run it by the person who knows PragerU better than anybody, Marissa. So I want to start by just asking you, because you've been with PragerU for so long, to walk us through the evolution of PragerU. People don't understand just how much we've grown from the starting point a number of years ago to now. So can you speak to a little bit about just our starting point
Sure.
and where we are now?
So the evolution is really mind-blowing. It was nothing like what we expected. Late 2011, I was hired. Alan Estrin came up with this idea. Alan Estrin is the producer of Dennis Prager's radio show. He came up with this idea. He said, Dennis Prager is this great explainer. He knows how to explain these things in clear, short sound bites. How about we video him and make these short little videos and put them on the internet, or sell these videos of Dennis explaining things? And they went to a few investors, and the investors said, well, it sounds from this meeting that you, Dennis, and Alan are really trying to change the world and you want to impact the way people think. Well, if you charge them for watching these videos, you're not going to change any minds. You're going to just preach to the choir. Who's going to pay for these videos? People already agree with you.
Sure.
Why don't you make them free and turn it into a nonprofit? So they met with a few other people who really understood the world of nonprofit. Coincidentally, one of the seed investors in this nonprofit knew me from my world of education. I used to be an educator. And they approached me and said, hey, we have an asset. We have basically penicillin, a cure for the disease that is seeping through this country of, just anti-Americanism and all the ideas that go with it. We need to figure out a way to spread these ideas. How can we spread these ideas in the best way? And we know that the internet is probably the best way to get to millions of people because, essentially there was no barrier. And then we met, and Alan called me a general without an army. I'll never forget that. For the first year he just introduced me, between 2011 and 2013, it was kind of beta phase. We were just testing out, how can we build a market? Who is the market? Do we just make videos with Dennis Prager, or do we make videos with other thinkers? And always with the idea that Prager University, PragerU, would live for many, many years, hopefully beyond any of us, beyond Dennis Prager, beyond me, and anybody here. Fast forward a few years later, around 2013, we really had our strategic plan together. We did all the testing we needed, and we figured out we're going to have, in order to get a diverse audience, in order to have redundancy. Dennis is not going to be the only presenter in the videos. We'll have multiple presenters. We created a rhythm of a weekly release, a Monday week release. So the audience that we build has an expectation of when videos will come out. Right. And then we had a very, very clear charter, which was focus on marketing. So many conservative organizations make unbelievable products. Beautiful videos, great papers. The problem is not enough people see them. Conservatives need to focus more on marketing, not just on a great product. And that was really, I think, the genius of PragerU. And people ask, well, how do you do so well? How did you grow so fast? Is because it was not just making a great product, but it's also building an incredible marketing team. And if you look at our budget, or even if you come, and I invite you to do so, come to the PragerU office, you will see that more than half of the staff here, they're actually marketing staff members, not necessarily production staff members. So we were very, very focused on production, but even more so we're focused on marketing. So that is kind of the evolution. we have a new strategic plan moving forward where we're going to start creating diverse content. So maybe you don't love just the 5-minute videos, or maybe we're not able to get to you with the 5-minute videos. We'll get to you eventually with the 5-minute videos, but first we'll get to you with maybe a Will Whitman on the street, or an interview show, or a comedy, or what we call short pulse videos, which you can watch my interview with Craig and learn more about it. But the idea is to be the tip of the spear, to meet as many people as possible with a diverse enough content that hopefully will appeal to people so that they will eventually funnel in to the PragerU website and watch the 5-minute videos and get the best they can out of it.
Sure. You know, it's interesting. So many people hear you talk, get your emails, but they don't know a lot about your background. You talked a little bit about a general without an army, so you have, through the Israeli military, a military background. Tell us a little bit about your background, how you got here. You have 3 little kids at home, and you also have to run this massive institution. So what drives you, and what got you to where you are now?
You know, it is very hard being a mom in general. It's hard being a mom and running an organization that now has about 50 employees. So it is remarkably hard. I know there are many CEOs out there who can relate to this, and many of you have been mentors to me. I'm just taking it one day at a time. But the lucky thing for me is that work is also something I'm unbelievably passionate about. And the work that I do, I'm doing for my children. Aaron, Olivia, and Aiden are all under the age of 7. They're still really little. And it's upsetting when I see what they learn in school. You know, there are things, and teachers, by the way, don't know that they're teaching leftism. They don't know that teaching that Thanksgiving should be a day of mourning is actually a bad thing, because I have a master's in education. I remember when they taught us, well, this is common knowledge. It's common knowledge that America is racist. It's common knowledge. So they don't even know that they're teaching leftism. So it's upsetting, and I feel like we need to, there are many people out there who are not diehard leftists, and they're not aware that they're propagating lies that are actually hurting their own values. And that's where I think PragerU comes in, is that we're, calm, cool, and collected. We're intellectual sound bites. And that's why we change people's minds. Because they've never heard the other side. And they hear the other side, and it changes their opinion. So that energizes me. I was born in the United States. You can pick up on an accent. I was raised in Israel. I served in a small unit called 8200 in the Israeli military. It was a small intelligence unit. I can't speak much about it, but I can tell you what I got out of it. Unbelievable entrepreneurship. I think I owe my entrepreneurship mentality to the Israeli military. They basically taught us to look at things and push as hard as we can or as we need to make them what they need to be. In the Israeli military, you can't be satisfied with mediocre. Lives are at stake, right? So when you're 18 years old, and that's what you're told every single day when you show up for as many hours as you show up to the military, and you're tasked with looking at things from a critical eye to increase efficiency, to increase productivity. It builds unbelievable entrepreneurship kind of character, and I think I really do owe it to Israel and what they've done for me as a child, and kind of, I guess, breeding me into this kind of problem solver. And the bottom line is, we have a problem. We have a problem in America. We need to educate the public fast and quickly. And clearly, and I think that's also where Dennis and Alan and I really, kind of come together in this great way where nobody knows how to explain things like Dennis Prager. Nobody knows how to write like Alan Estrin. And then I guess nobody is as pushy as I am to get things done. So this kind of combination of the three of us has led to, 1 billion views almost last year, almost 50 employees, God willing, a $20 million budget this year.
It's wild.
It's
crazy.
wild.
Yeah. So we have so many donors, and you guys have been so generous to us. You usually know the numbers, 1 billion views. Most of you know, of course, about our battle with YouTube. But in my traveling the country, there are some overarching questions that people want to know to get a little bit more insider information about PragerU and our operation. So I want to go into that. The first question people ask me as Dennis's son is, what happened to your hair, since he has such great hairs? But we won't talk about that one. That's less relevant. What we will ask first is, we have 52 videos that are released a year of our 5-minute core ideas. How does Prager University select the videos? How do you go? What's the process?
I know you think that your job is so hard, that fundraising is so hard, which it is. Fundraising is hard.
Right.
But one of the hardest things to do at PragerU right now is to choose which video to produce, because there's so many problems out there, that we need to re-educate the public. And literally every week I'm like, I gotta get this video. So. Sadly, we can only produce 52 videos a year. Right. And the reason is so many reasons. One is because if we make too many videos, most of our viewership cannot keep up with the pace of more, too many videos. We don't want to create an oversaturation. But the bigger issue is funding. So, we have a marketing dollar pie, and if we have to market 100 videos as opposed to 52 videos, then that the number of views that we will get on those videos will be less. And right now our focus is to try to get as many viewers as possible, sure. Right? So we know we can only make 52 videos. So we sit there in the room, the executive team, we have monthly meetings, and we basically battle it out. Mm-hmm. Everybody has what they're passionate about, and also everybody has their perspective and point of view. I have the perspective of, CEO and possibly also mother, and the perspective of people my age. Alan Estrin has the perspective of people his age, producer of the Dennis Radio Show, and Bob has the perspective of the production person. Craig has an unbelievable perspective of what is being consumed sure. on the internet. Like what are the others doing? What are the others saying? We also have the perspective of what Prager Force is asking us to talk about, right? So we take all of those perspectives and we have a list of 500 titles. Mm-hmm. And then we just have to narrow it down. And we have a pie chart that says a certain percentage of videos will be about politics, but PragerU is not all about politics, right? So then a certain portion of that pie chart will be about life studies and economics and all of that. And once we decide the pie chart, and then we just narrow it down to the videos that are most important, 2019 is pretty much fully committed. We already know what we're releasing in 2019. Uh-huh. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, and every day there's another potential topic on my desk or on Alan's desk, and we try to do our best to get as much as we can out there, but we also have a finite number of amount of resources. So that's mm-hmm. But that's pretty much the process. We make our decisions. We contact the presenter. If the presenter is interested in doing a video, we ask them to do a quick script, which is about 800 words on what they want to say. And we have a writer's team analyze the script, sometimes do a bit of a rewrite. We send it back to the presenter. Presenter has to be okay with every word that's in that script. And once they do so, we invite them in. There's a teleprompter. They read through the teleprompter as many takes as they need. Some of them only need one or two. Right. Dennis Prager does them in one, and then we force him to do another one just as for safety. Just in case. And then some people need 20. So it just depends on also experience. Sure. And then about 6 weeks later, the video will be ready. Videos are slotted to be released every Monday. So depending when the slot is available, it will be shared with the public.
So a lot of people, when we talk about the expense of getting that video not only up and ready, and you talked a little bit about the process, but also then the marketing. Tell us a little bit of why it costs a lot to get this video to production, through production, and then of course to ensure that several million people, in some cases 10 millions of people view that video.
So the point I made earlier about being very marketing focused is really the answer to why videos cost as much as we do. The truth is, we say that to sponsor a video, it's $50,000. But the truth is, that it costs a lot more than $50,000. I mean, you know what our annual budget is, right? So it's not that our entire annual budget is split up amongst 52 videos and that's the cost, but somewhat close to it is because the marketing aspect of the video is the most important part of the video. What is the point of having, I say this to some of my friends who have fancy cars, and as I imagine that you have this collection of fancy cars, you never put any gasoline in it, you never drive it out of the garage, and like nobody nobody ever gets to see it, and that has been the issue of conservatives. They take such pride in writing these great white papers, but nobody ever reads them. So we can't do that. This is where we put our foot down and say we will not produce something that we cannot market the hell out of. So if it's going to be produced, it's going to be marketed significantly. So the $50,000 in the sponsorship of the video includes the making of the video, which is about half of it, and the other half of it is some funding towards the marketing of the video.
Okay. So we know that PragerU videos obviously have this massive number of views, but some people get punch drunk to the number of 1 billion. It's hard to quantify. So how do we know that our charter, of course, is to change minds and in many cases to reinforce those who perhaps grew up conservative, to maintain their conservatism, which is a big enough task alone. How do we know that we are making a difference?
Okay, so I like to call myself a data junkie because data really matters, right? So we oftentimes analyze our numbers and what does a view actually mean, right? Are we changing minds? We do multiple surveys throughout the year. Unlike most people who do surveys, they only survey 1,000 people. We survey 10,000 people, right? Because we're dealing with big numbers and we want to have as deep of an analysis as possible as to what's going on. So we survey them with about 5 questions. Mostly we will survey people who we know that have watched 1 or 2 videos online. So it's not that we send the survey to the people who already subscribe to PragerU so that we can hear how awesome we are, right? We want to really send it to people who may or may not even know exactly what our branding is about, and that's part of what we're asking them. Are you familiar with the PragerU brand? So surveys are important. Additionally, we've built a funnel. So the funnel is you watch a video, you possibly comment or share on the video, then we get you to possibly subscribe or via email or phone number. Phone number is going to become a very big thing because there's no better way to get people to read your stuff if you text it to them. And the funnel shows us if people have become extra engaged, right? If they've gone from just being a viewer to then a subscriber, then we won, right? And then the final piece of it is donors, them becoming donors. So we're not asking necessarily for large donations from some people, but if they can give anything, it means they're in. So last year, for example, 46% of Prager University's income actually came in from online donations, right? So we know that what we're doing is working because the very audience that's watching our content is supporting our content. Almost half. Right? Almost half of our budget is coming in from these young Prager Force members. They'll watch the videos. They'll send $5. You know what? I'm going to skip Starbucks. I'm going to skip my coffee this week and donate something to Prager. And that is unbelievably meaningful. And that's, I think, how you see things are working. People are joining the movement of just getting educated and thinking differently, right? Opening minds.
Yeah, and there are so many. There's so many phenomenal testimonials. One donor talked about how he had a connection to a young millennial in Bulgaria, and she began sending him PragerU videos, and she didn't look like the typical conservative.
Oh, the donor from Colorado heard about PragerU from Bulgaria through his son.
Exactly. The little testimonials are my favorites. It's great to say numbers, but as they say, one's meaningful. 1 billion sort of a statistic that doesn't mean much. So we have all this influence, and of course we want to change minds, and we want to reach out to everybody, even globally. So the big question I get a lot is, why don't you just create Spanish Prager University? Why aren't all our videos going directly into Spanish? Good. I need to listen too, because I get this question all the time.
Okay. There is no doubt that we need to influence the Latino population. Interestingly, and what I'm about to say doesn't mean that Spanish videos are not important. But interestingly, most second-generation Hispanics that are in the United States, speak English very well. They went to school here, and they actually watch English content. They don't necessarily watch only, Spanish content, right? So that is a giant population that we are reaching, and we are reaching with our English content because these people speak English. They've lived here their entire lives, right? They sound just as American as you do. So it's not that we're not reaching any Latinos. We are absolutely reaching Latinos that speak English. As far as reaching Latinos that do not speak English, I do think it's important to reach Latinos that do not speak English, but we don't know how to do it at PragerU. I'm not saying that we can't do it. We can do it if we deploy proper resources to R&D, to developing a marketing team that knows how to market to Latino-speaking people. It is different. If you understand marketing, you understand that it's not just about blasting dollars towards something, right? You have to build a strategy. We've built a very complex strategy behind these billions of viewers that we're getting. It's not that we're just putting content up there and just hoping that it sticks. The marketing strategy behind it is complex, and a marketing strategy behind reaching the Latino audience would also be complex. So we would need to invest in building a marketing team, just like the marketing team that we have here that's reaching Americans or English-speaking people. We would need to do that for Latino as well. The videos, could we translate them? Sure. But translated videos may not have the same impact as actual videos that are done by personalities that the Latinos look up to, right? We're using, the Ben Shapiros of the world and the Jordan Peterson and people that Americans look up to. And it's kind of why they're, hey, wait a second. I really love the way this person thinks. Can Latinos relate to the Jordan Petersons that we have? I don't know. He's not speaking their language. He doesn't sound like them. So can we make a PragerU Universidad? Can we make Prager University Spanish? Yes, it's possible, but not with the current resources that we have. So I know we would probably need a commitment of $5 million to build, the R&D, to be the marketing team. My Spanish is very weak. We'd need to have people who really speak Spanish and understand the Spanish market. And we won't do things unless we do them in an excellent way. One of my mentors earlier told me, you're going to see a lot of people pulling and pushing you to do all kinds of things once you become successful. Don't creep on your mission. And that is really my answer right now. We still need to reach plenty of Americans. Right? You see what's happening in Hollywood, in the media, and universities. There's a lot of work to be done with the people who speak English. We can't deploy our resources to something that we're not even that great at. Right? So if we wanted to get great at Spanish videos, we would have to have a commitment. We would have to have a strategic plan. We would have to have a serious budget, and we would have to know that we're able to execute it properly and not just say that we're making Spanish videos and hopefully somebody will watch them.
I think the common thought is that, if you just took X amount of dollars and redeployed that small number towards Spanish language viewership, then you would have the same amount of views. And it's completely untrue because you have to have the build-up in order to get to that point.
And I think anybody that thinks about it says, hey, wait a second, actually that makes a lot of sense. So, we're absolute perfectionists around here. And I don't want to look at anybody and say, yes, I can do this without telling you that I can do this. I can tell you one thing for sure. If we continue to do what we're doing right now, we can change America. We just need to get bigger. We just need to fight the enemy, which is richer than us. They have a larger budget than us. But if we can do what we're doing right now, we can reach the American audience. Let's focus on what we're really amazing at, because at least that I can tell you we know how to do.
And like you said, so many of the younger Latino audience is watching the same content that the several generation American audience is watching. So it's not a major difference. I remember right after the 2016 election where we sort of fended off the encroachment of leftism into our society. In true PragerU form, we were happy but weren't left satisfied. We wanted to do more. And there was a tweet that went out about, had millennials simply voted for, in the 2016 election, that Hillary would have won something like, not doing the exact electoral count, but something like 510 to 7. So we saw that number as that's the future. So on that vein, we talk about our success. But the left, of course, is also obsessed with changing minds and influencing others. They have a lot at their disposal. What is the success rate? What's of leftist leaning Prager University types? Who are our, let's say, competitors, for lack of a better term, for those young minds?
Yeah. So I hate to say this, but our competitors are still blowing us out of the water. Al Jazeera created a sub-brand called AJ Plus. I don't know how many of you are familiar with AJ Plus, but surely you've heard of Al Jazeera before. Al Jazeera is funded by a family in Qatar. Al Jazeera then funds an organization that is aimed at producing media content that is marketed in the West. It's marketed in the United States with, totally American sounding figures. They make these little documentaries, essentially the opposite of PragerU. They teach that Antifa is a freedom fighter. Close to 40% of their content is very anti-Israel, very anti-American, very strong on socialism. Money from Qatar funneled directly into AJ Plus to make videos that influence our kids here in America. They're enormous. And of course, they have unlimited sums of money. Nobody's talking here about foreign meddling, right? Everybody's going crazy over what's happening with Russian meddling. What about Qatar meddling, right? So then there's AJ Plus. There's now this. There's a whole bunch of other organizations that we are companies that we're constantly studying. And to be honest, we're kind of copying them. So it's like, what are they doing that's really great? And what can we do to teach the opposite of what they're teaching? So they make these things called pulse videos. PragerU makes videos that are pulse videos, answering current events, current issues. And essentially, it's kind of a war of ideas online against them, only they have a much larger budget than ours. But, amazingly, we are picking up. We've grown tremendously. And I think in the next few years, we'll be able to somewhat at least level the playing field if we continue to have this kind of growth. Just make more productions, keep marketing them, influence the way people think. But yes, unfortunately, they're still larger than us.
Yeah. Well, we've proven the concept that people are, if they're shown these ideas, of free markets, some conservative ideas, that they are, many, of course not all, are willing to change their minds. They just have to hear these ideas. And it's just unbelievable to us to see how few people have actually heard these concepts. Because they've inevitably, no fault of their own, just grown up in a bubble, a free society in a bubble. It's a funny dichotomy. Walk us through a little bit of the other content that we have. You talked a little bit about the Pulse videos. First of all, what was the idea behind it, aside from the fact that AJ Plus organizations are doing these Pulse videos? Why create them all together? You said it's good to stick to what you're great at. Clearly, we're great at the 5-minute videos. Why did we have to start? Why did we decide to produce other content?
So we're great at the other content too. We made sure that we're great at producing other content too before we took on those ventures. So, but not the 5-minute videos are not for everyone, and it might not be the first thing for everyone. Some people want shorter stuff. A lot of people watch their look on their social media platform, Facebook, Instagram, without even sound. You might find yourself doing that too. You're just kind of like somewhere and you're scrolling through. Well, if we know that such a large population is watching it stuff without sound, let's make stuff that is all written, images and written, right? Like, let's do that. So that's what Pulse videos are. They are essentially just music and written text and some footage. And the reason we are doing it is because we see that others are doing it and it's unbelievably successful. So we make them as well, and we see they're unbelievably successful under our umbrella as well. Will Witt, unbelievably influential with young people, right? So we call this content funnel content. It's just funneling people into the PragerU hub so that eventually they get to the 5-minute videos. But we got to if we want to have a diverse audience, we need to diversify our content too.
And we need multiple entry points for people through diversity of content and topics, which is what we're doing. Tell us about the Prager Force, our ambassador program of the younger generation. What are they doing? What's been some of the success stories? What was the origin of Prager Force?
So we have about 2,000 students currently in Prager Force. I call them our sales force. We have the goal is to have, right now we have them in every single state in the United States, right? So the goal is to try to have a couple of students on every campus. You all know that one student who is unbelievably active. They're in all the different groups, all the different clubs. we want those students to be our sales force. They can go to TPUSA, they can go to YAF, they can go to YAL, they can go to any of the other, or APAC, whatever other organizations that are there that are more physical on campus, and say, use the PragerU content, share PragerU videos, follow PragerU, subscribe to PragerU. We just need a couple of them because we live in the digital space, right? So we are different from all of them in that nobody is doing what we're doing with students. We are building a digital media army that is essentially propagating in a positive way our ideas. So they're trained by us. We use a platform called Crewfire that manages how much they're sharing and who they're reaching out to, and what kind of viewership we're getting. It's unbelievable, the viewership that we're getting through PragerForce, because they are sharing it on their platform. So if they have 2,000 followers and you have 2,000 students, so you multiply that, and they're all young. It's exactly the kids that we want, the students and young people that we want to reach. So that is kind of the goal behind it. It's grassroots, but it's totally digital, and it's a false multiplier. So we don't even need that many students, but imagine if we have 10,000 students that each have 2,000 followers, what kind of influence we could have.
Yeah.
And that's the idea behind it.
Yeah. No,
and the best thing about it is, it costs money to manage this program, but nothing like the pizza parties and the physical things that a lot of these organizations are already doing in a great way. PragerU doesn't have to deploy large sums of resources in order to manage this digital army.
Well, one of the things that you had mentioned to me, one of the ancillary benefits of PragerForce is that it gives kids who may be, they're always a significant minority on their campus, a certain sense of community, even if it's just digitally, that they feel like people are getting their backs. One of the things that I've seen the left do is they create these numbers to make you feel like if you believe differently, that you're just nuts for believing that. 98% of climate scientists agree on one concept. So you're crazy if you're part of the 2%. They sort of do that same thing. And what it's done, I think, for a lot of the PragerForce students is it's given them this sort of communal feeling that there are a lot of others of us out there, and it keeps them vocal and willing to maintain those beliefs.
Yeah. We kind of built this thing I called the swarm. So it's like you'll post a video on your Facebook feed, and then a whole bunch of your leftist friends will start attacking you and calling you a racist, even though, you're possibly black. And then the PragerForce student will go back to the PragerForce digital space and say, hey, I'm being attacked by leftists online. And then a swarm of PragerForce kids will come and suddenly have all these students backing you up, and you have a swarm of an army behind you. But it's an unbelievably encouraging thing to know that you have that behind you.
Absolutely. I've seen that. I've seen that online.
Yeah.
We are re-releasing an application called Pragerpedia in 2019. Can you tell us a little bit about that and why we've developed the app?
Yeah, so this ties into the online censorship. The best way to reach people is to reach them in your own territory, right? So we're creating PragerU, a PragerU app. The PragerU app will have all the videos that we have on it currently. We'll be able to ping you directly when new videos come out. We will be able to ping you directly when videos on topics that we think you're interested in are coming out. We'll also alert you when we haven't heard from you in a while, and let you know that we miss you, so you can come back into the app and take a look at things.
Stealing my job.
You'll like this. You can donate on through the app.
Nice.
But mostly it's going to be everything you need in order to connect with our videos, free of censorship, free of government intervention, and free of charge. And all you need to do is download the app, and you can access our content pretty much anywhere.
And it's available now.
It's not available now. It's going to be available in the next couple of months. We're actually doing extensive testing to it this week. So, some of us internally still already have it, and we'll release it once it's as close as possible to perfect.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And interestingly, also, I don't know if you're a podcaster, if you're a runner, or you like going on walks, you are able to set up your own watch list of videos, and they will play one after the other, so you don't have to keep clicking and looking. So there are lots of great features in this app, and the biggest part of it is that it's going to be censorship-free.
Yeah, definitely. That is the best part. So no one has to know. It's all our content with it, free of anything else, which is, we don't have to rely on anybody else. That's great. That's fantastic. If you can touch upon, I know that a lot of people know about the lawsuit, and that segues well into censorship, but just one final question is a little bit about where the status is with the lawsuit, and if you could quickly also just give a summary of why we're engaged in this battle. There's been a lot of misunderstanding as to what the battle is, what YouTube really has done.
Okay, so quickly, the battle is that the censorship that we are experiencing on YouTube is based on their fraudulent claim that they are a public forum. So they said, we are a public forum, come invest in our business, create content for our business, and upload things to our business, sign this contract here, and you will be able to, as long as you don't create content that is pornographic or violent and so forth, you'll be able to use our platform. But they call themselves a public forum. And that is a fraudulent claim because they are not a public forum. If you are starting to decide what is appropriate and what you like and what you don't like, then you're not a public forum. You're actually a publisher. And they deceived us in calling themselves a public forum. And we've built this entire model based on the contract we signed with them.
Sure.
That they said that they're a public forum.
Right.
So that is in a nutshell the issue. This is not an issue of, are they a private company or not a private company? It doesn't matter. Private companies can't deceive the public.
Yeah.
Right? So that is the bottom line.
Right.
The update is we just filed our second lawsuit in the state court of California. This is our local jurisdiction here, and waiting to hear back. You can watch a more extensive interview that I have with Peter, our attorney, another interview that we've done here for our close donors. So we can link it in this email below, and you can hear all about the details and hear Peter's perspective and strategy behind it. But the recent update is last week we just filed the state court claim.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm sure we'll get an update as to that soon. So thank you, Marissa, for all the information. A few housekeeping matters. First off, we have an annual weekend summit every year. This year it'll be May 3rd and 4th in Santa Barbara. Some great attendees will be there. Mostly former presenters. Jordan Peterson will be there. Katie Pavlich, Eric Metaxas will be there. Andy Puzder, who was the CEO of Carl's Jr. and Hardee's, will be talking about the economy, the state of the American economy, and what we can hopefully expect. So it'll be a phenomenal event. You have any questions about that, about getting more involved with us, you can, of course, reach out to me. It'd be an honor to talk to you. You can email me at davidp@prageru.com. In the meantime, thank you again so much for all your support. And Marissa, thank you for your time.
Thank you, David.